Morning YouTube, how we doing, guys? Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. What's up, Plain V, bro? So basically, just hit our target from this morning from daily plans. If you were, got a copy of the daily plans this morning, literally just fulfilled our objective on the high. Yeet skis. That's the little spike you want. So for me, it's got to hold here for us to move back to go and sweep out this low back to 14. It's got to hold. ES, however, I'll be looking for it to get up to 55. So ES still hasn't fulfilled the objective for me, which is getting up to the whole cycle 55. However, NQ is where I'd want it to be for a pullback to come and work out this low. If it keeps plotting higher, let's move to the sidelines. So basically just looking for NQ to hold on to this breaker block on a day with no news. So just looking for a pullback. So essentially what I'm looking for. Just mindful of ES just being at this whole site number. I've been saying, say 55 is a magnet. So this morning's price action. We always talk about if you're anticipating high prices, which we were. You're looking for a price to sweep engineered liquidity and get into a 15-minute order block. That's always what you're looking to do. So this was our entry long. We also had my 15-to-1 model, which was inside of here. This is your turtle suit. That's your 15-to-1 model. Breaker structure, offset accumulation. There was your entry. And then you're taking internal range to external. That was our trade this morning during London, if you're on the London stream. Then we had this shake and bake. So this here shook me out of my long. But what we needed to be aware of was ES, and ES basically came down on 6 sister on that very same 15-minute order block. So it basically mitigated this range on the low. So if we look at where NQ was at this time, NQ had mitigated that low inside that 15-minute order block. However, ES hadn't. So this was essentially allowing ES to do what NQ had already done before price then distributed higher. For our eventual target, which was to come and clear out these highs up here. So if you missed your initial low, all right, you didn't get in on this low. You didn't basically keying off ES. If you were trading this, you would have been keyed off ES on that low. Your other opportunities were this breaker block, which was a unicorn. And then beyond that, you had a pullback into a discount on a 5-minute. They were your last opportunities for a long, a safe opportunity for a long. So you've got to be careful today, because today we have absolutely no news, like zero, none. But it's giving all the indications for aggressive distribution on a day with no news. So you've got to be mindful of that. Wednesday, Thursday, we've got CPI and PPI, which is where I'm anticipating the volatility to come in. So on days when we have no news, I'm not anticipating it to drive through higher time frame liquidity pools. So I'm not anticipating it to come all the way back up here. So this is where I start framing my entries as to why would price respect these levels to move lower. So this would be an unmitigated range on the hourly on ES, and up here we're still inside this breaker block. So the very high of this breaker block is essentially where we are just rejecting right now, right? Right up in here, which is why I went short. So your job would be to pay yourself inside of a discount, anticipate price to pull back, offset, accumulate. All right, potentially do this, even potentially sweep that high before moving down into this low. Just mindful of ES and 55, the whole psych. Oh, pardon me. Take it easy, Ainsley. Have a good one, mate. Anybody else in this short? Who we got? Who else is in this short? Straight in, guys. Straight in. No messing around. Make sure you pay yourself. Got balanced price range here on the 1 minute. ES still hasn't taken 55, so you want to be mindful of that. All right, there you go. So I've taken a couple of contracts off. Very good, nice one. Well done, Steve. So when price gets down to a discount, right, you can anticipate price to potentially offset, accumulate. Ideally, you don't want to do that. Ideally, you just want to see it carve, but you need to be mindful of that, right? You need to be mindful that it can do that. So because of that, you got to pay yourself, especially as turtle suit traders, right? So we're turtle suiting. This is accumulation. This is manipulation, right? So if you're trading turtle suits, which is what this is, right, you have to pay yourself, right? This is what keeps you in 70 to 80% consistency, right? Knowing where to pay yourself, being able to scale out. Because 9 times out of 10, you're going to get this. You're going to get pressured. Your position's going to get pressured. So you have to pay yourself. So that's what keeps my consistency so high, is because I have the ability and I know how to pay myself. I know how to scale out with the turtle suit. But the reason why I'm entering right in here, and people are like, how the hell are you doing that? You've got no confirmation, right? The reason why I do that is because I have an absolute minuscule risk, right? But I pay myself. So before secondary entry traders are even contemplating getting in, I'm already paid, right? So if you were looking for a secondary entry trade, which you wouldn't even have here, you still wouldn't even have an entry on a secondary entry because you haven't got your 1 minute breaker structure. You know, where would you be looking? Where, you know, what's your entry? But for argument's sake, let's say you did have an entry, you know, and you entered in here, for example, your stop's going to have to be all up here. And there's the difference. Like, that's the difference between me, Turtle Suit, and everyone else on Twitter who trades secondary entry trash, right? Is that. And it's a huge difference. And there are so many advantages to that risk difference. None more so, it helps you avoid tilt because your losses are so small and your TPs are so huge. It also means that your win percentage can be as low as 20% and you're still consistent. Whereas somebody who trades like this with a 2-to-1 or 1-to-1 R, their consistency has to be so high. It has to be so high in order for them to maintain consistency and consistent profitability, right? The difference with a turtle suit trader is I don't need to be that consistent, but I am that consistent, okay? So not only do I have a huge consistency, I have a huge RR, okay? Because my risk is so small and my targets are so high. I average across 7-to-1 RR across a year. That high RR plus high consistency is the holy grail of trading, okay? And in order to do that, you need to be able to turtle suit correctly and understand how to scale, because scaling is what gives you the consistency and knowing how to scale. And turtle suits is what gives you that super low risk and huge RRs, right? So if price were to have taken me out here, do I care? No, because I know that just round the corner, I have a 10-to-1 R, 11-to-1 R just around the corner, all right, which absolutely obliterates that loss. Now the absolute key for turtle suit trading is not over trading. If you start to over trade and you try to trade turtle suits, you will get obliterated. You have to stay patient and wait for your higher time frame point of interest. This is a classic example. Our trade this morning during London, if you were on, this low or this low. Again, this low would have been your TS, right? You have to stay patient. I've not traded any of this, even though I've known where price is going. And by the way, if you've not got the daily plans, this is daily plans inside of Red Pill Trading, right? Right in here, the daily plan for today. For price to get up to 1817.62, ES whole site 5500. This was today, and this is UK time. This is UK time. Okay, so knock off 5 hours. So this was 3 o'clock New York time. I wrote this. All right, you can see where price was. Okay, so this is what I was anticipating. So I missed this. This shook me out. This sweep shook me out. But this was my higher time frame POI. So I've not been aggressively trading this. No. I've waited for my high time frame POI, then I engage. That's the difference. That's the difference, right? So I'm not this kind of trader that's just going to be constantly trading every micro fluctuation just to get, Twitter likes or YouTube likes. It's not how I trade, right? I'm super patient. 6 trades a day maximum. Now, when you get to your higher time frame POI, you always give yourself 2 opportunities at a trade idea. So what will happen sometimes, especially if you're a turtle suit trader, is the suit gets souped. So for example, if you went hyper aggressive, which I did, right in here, boom, you can get it where it just wicks you out. I always give myself 2 opportunities at trade idea. So I then frame a secondary trade opportunity within inside my primary entry to then capitalize on that trade. If that then fails, I am done on that trade idea. That is it. And I only give myself 2 trades per session, right? 2 trades per session, right? 2 in London, 2 in New York, 2 in the close, which gives me my 6 trade opportunities. If this is green, I can trade again, 2 green trades. If this is red, I have another trade to mitigate, 2 trades. I then go into London, basically break even or slightly green. New York, if I take a winning trade, I can trade again, and it's obviously great. If I then take a losing trade, I stop trading. Go into the following session. That's the difference, right? That's the difference with turtle suit trading. You have to reduce the amount of times you trade, and you have to wait for higher time frame institutional reference points to frame your entries. If you do not do that, you will be getting chopped up the whole time, which is why most of Twitter can't understand how turtle suits work, because they're trying to trade everything and they're wondering why it doesn't work. All right. So I always say you got to find an approach to the markets that suits you as a trader, right? You have to find a model that suits you. Some people like that scalpy, let's be in the market the whole time. Give it to me. I need it, right? They need that. They need that junky approach, right? It makes them tick. It keeps them alive. But also, you might be the trader who doesn't suit that, and you're more calm, you're more methodical in the way you go about stuff. You put more analysis into stuff, and you're more content in terms of trying to capture daily range. If you're that type of trader, turtle suit trading is great for you because it suits you, because you can then stay patient for your trade. I'm the latter. I fall into that category. I'm patient, methodical, wait for an entry. Okay, so exactly what we're talking about here in terms of what can happen, which is why I always pay myself inside of a discount, because you can anticipate offset accumulation. All right, so any secondary entry trader who's trying to force an entry short is just getting stopped. All right, whereas we're sitting up here pretty going, mwah, mwah, paid. Right, looking for price to come and draw out these lows. You with me? Does that make sense? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Give us 1 minute, Prem. Give us it. So basically, I basically look at, my terminus is 14. 2 seconds, guys. And a good, with my draw being ndog, now I ran a fib from your turtle soup to ndog and entered at 25% range. All right, a fib. Not sure I fully understand TMAS, mate. I'm not sure why you do that. If you're are you talking about projected range, TMAS? I think that's probably what you're trying to allude to. Is that what you're trying to say? Ah, now I'm with you. I'm with you, bro. I'm with you. I'm with you. So yeah, like a good general rule of thumb is yeah, find your projected range. All right, and anywhere above, basically in the sweet spot, is where you want to be. Anywhere inside 25%, our class is okay if it's high probability. All right. As soon as you go below 25%, that's when you're in the realms of being offset accumulated. All right. You always want to be entering inside of the 25% of your projected range, always. So even if this stops you out, it's like, okay, at least you're in like the high probability locations where price is going to go short, right? If you're entering down here somewhere and you're chasing price, like the chances are that price offset accumulates you is high, especially if there's context for price to run the highs still, right? So for me, I don't absolutely love this trade still. You've still got ES to go and get up to 55. Still not got there, which would. Let's have a look. which would obviously put a divergence on the high, at which point I'll probably look to close this NQ trade. But as a general rule of thumb, you always want to be inside the 25%. That's where your low probability entries are. So if you were, again, if this was your projected range, which it was today, right? Anywhere below the 25% is like, okay, right? Ultimately, you want to learn how to get in on this very low, and there was a way to do it. You would have keyed off ES in this instance, right? You would have keyed off ES, mitigation, 15-minute order block underneath engineered liquidity, playing 6 sister on the low. That would have been your key, your turtle suit on this low. But if you miss that entry, this breaker block, which is an unicorn, would have been inside the 25%. So it's still okay, right? As soon as you start getting up here, it's in Trashville, right? Up around 50% of projected range, it's shit. No interest in that. So this is like when, like, if I even when I know where price is more likely to go, if it goes beyond my 25%, I just let it go. Just let it go. I don't chase it. Too many traders chase and then get slapped, but then end up watching price go to their ultimate objective. Like, just don't chase. If it goes, it goes. You missed it. Ah boo boo. Ah boo boo. You missed a trade. Oh boo boo. Right? Don't take it out on the charts. Just own up to it. You weren't good enough on that particular trade. Oh, shit. Did he just say that? I wasn't good enough. Oh, my God. Can my ego take that? Can I take that I wasn't good enough? Right? Sometimes you're not going to be good enough. It's all right. This morning, on this particular low, I was not good enough to get in on that low. I did not get in on this low. I took this trade this morning during London, and if you want to watch it, it's on this YouTube stream. I streamed this morning for London. That was my trade. I did not get this low, even though this was my ultimate objective. No siree. I missed it. I wasn't good enough. Did I sit in here forcing trades long and short, trying to soothe my ego? No. I let it go. I let that baby go. No. Yes, sir, there is a new H1. Yes, sir, there is. Just mindful of ES not hitting 55. Could just hold us here for the open. Just get a gnarly little wick. So it's a key moment up here for for NQ. If NQ starts carving through the highs, I'll just move to the sidelines. Honestly, it's as simple as that. It really is as simple as that. Because we're going to be in some mad buy distribution on a Tuesday of no news. Not for me, thank you very much. Not for me. All right, how long we got to the open? 15 minutes until the open. I mean, if you were bullish, you'd be entering, like in here, it's such a mad premium, it's unbelievable. Like this is the midnight open price. This is the 8:30 price. So if you're bullish, you're entering above the 8:30 and the midnight. Like if you're bearish, it's a double discount. If they do decide to open, do you think it might be a case of suit against suit? Well, ES jumping up to 55. Yeah, there's a potential for that. It could drag Enki up to take out to suit this high, Andy. So my buck stop at the moment is ES at 55. So I am mindful of that. You definitely want to be, if you're shorting, if you shorted the high, you definitely want to be paying yourself inside of a discount on this 1 minute, right? Taking the lion's share off, holding runners. I'm looking to get it back down to 14, but I'm open for it just to rip at the open to allow ES to go up to the whole site, which is a magnet at 55, which is up here, which would be the 10 o'clock candle. Yeah, you want to be very, very careful. It's got all the conditions for an absolute hoon. Just bouncing between Prem and a discount in a minute. So you want to be extremely careful because ES has not hit 5,500. I'm in up here, paid myself, just holding a runner. Let's get down to 14. If it stops me out, I do not care. Gotcha, balance. So I don't mind ES taking out this high, but I don't want to see NQ take out 87. So ES has to hit 55 and reject like a biatcha. All right, so there's that's almost, not quite. How long we got? 10 minutes. So all of this conditions is super bullish. You see how it's just going off these old highs. When it's super bullish, it does this. So you just got to be super careful, right? If it does just go on an absolute rip, I'm done today. I'm not even going to trade it. Got no interest chasing price today. Not on a Tuesday of no news. Not happening. Not happening. All right, there's a 55 on ES. So close to the open. So price has to reject it. If it starts piling through this, just move to the sidelines. Move to the sidelines. I don't like the fact that it's a whole site number. I'll give you that. I normally do not like shorting whole sites. Are you printing or are you printing? Are you printing or are you printing? It's SMT, Live Your Life. So again, another trade just like literally just keyed off ES, like keyed off ES's level. Emilio Simpress, printing. Make sure you pay yourself, brother. It's what we do. It's what we do. ES has to hold that high for lower prices. To get down to 14, it has to hold that high. Oh. Oh. So I've still got my other trade holding runners, but this is a total suit keyed off ES. That's what that is, right? Right in at the high is 77. That's the very goddamn high, right? That's how I trade. The very turtle suit, accumulation, manipulation for distribution, keyed off ES. Right, so this trade was keyed off ES. So I was saying, be careful, ES. I do not want to see ES through 5,500. 5,500, boom. There's my short is keyed off ES. So I'm basically just going to hold these runners and then just base it off ES. As long as ES doesn't break 5,500, I'm going to hold this down to 14 on NQ. Oh, no. Oh. Took my runners and NQ there. Do not try and short it. So ES. So you got to reserve patience. The temptation is to jump on this short. It's definitely not what you want to do. Let's go and mitigate the hourly. Delayed SMT on the low, be very careful. It's far too far in a premium for me, and we're not finished on the highs for me personally. So there literally is no trade. Like I literally cannot trade this deep into a premium long, even though I'm anticipating long high prices. Now that we've broken through 55 on ES, I can't trade this short. I also can't trade it long. So there's nothing for me at the minute. For me, if ES can get up to mitigate the hourly, I'd be interested. But apart from that, I've got no interest. Did it. Gnarly little wick on NQ. Basically came for my stops. The stops on my runners. Soup got souped. For me, my next point of interest is if price can get up to mitigate the hourly, then I'll be interested. I've got no interest in shorting this. I've just got none. It's just in terms of the delivery that we're in, it's way too bullish. So I'm just going to sit patient. I'm going to wait. I'm just going to let this let the morning session play out and then see where we are later on in the session. There's nothing in here which is high probability any longer. I do not want to trade this as a breaker block. No, I do not. I caught that short. It trapped perfectly into the 50-minute IBEP. Okay, good stuff. Nice one. Well done, Debbie. So for me, it's not done on the highs. Oh, my neck. If it's not high probability, there's no trade for me. It's as simple as that. That's how I approach the markets. Might be no trade morning for me. Well, not no trade morning, no trade at the open. Just my short in here, traded it back down to here, stopped to my runner, and then traded ES short again when ES was up at 55. So traded that short, that pulled back on NQ. So that's literally all I've taken today. This. During New York. So just staying patient. I don't like where we are at all. If it goes off that breaker, that's absolutely fine. I'm just not going to be in it. I'd want higher prices. Don't have to catch it every move. So you've also got to be mindful that just context before time, context before price, and obviously the context is that we've had huge range pre-open. So when that happens, it often goes into chop. You have a choppy morning, especially on a day with no news. So I'm in absolutely no rush to try and force an entry. If you're anticipating chop in the AM session because of your context, that would lead you into that. You wait for your 1050 macro. You wait for your mid-morning macros. Yeah, so for me, my short bias was based on ES at 5,500, Debbie. I didn't want to see ES above that, so my trade was keyed off ES's level. I also didn't want to see price go through a divergence on the high up at 87. So as soon as it did that, I just sat patient, especially given the conditions that we're in, which is hella bullish. I didn't want to force a short up in here. I don't use those PDRAs that you're referencing, like 15-minute inverted fair value gaps, all that trash. I personally don't use them, so that's why. Yeah, I just don't use the higher time frame stuff. It's too grey. As soon as you go up into the higher time frame, you start using stuff like that. It's too grey. You have to find your entry on the lower time frame. You can find higher time frame, sure, you can frame PDRAs like that, but you have to find your lower time frame entry inside of that. And so for me, it wasn't a level that I would look for inside of that. You don't have to trade every swing, Debbie. Jeez Louise. You don't have to, not everyone's going to take the same trade. Why do people feel like that? Like everyone has to take exactly the same trade. It doesn't work like that, right? People see the markets through different lenses. Like your lens will be slightly different to my lens, right? That's absolutely fine. You do you. There's nothing wrong with that. Like it's not in my models that I would trade what you traded. If it's in your models, that's absolutely fine. That's great. It's amazing. Well done. It worked. It's great. But it's not in my models, so I didn't take the trade. Does that make sense? Is that there's no right or wrong. You haven't done anything wrong. It's just not what I would look to do to frame a trade. It's not how I would do it. But if it fell into your models and the way that you approach it, then that's absolutely fine. Nothing wrong with that at all. As long as you win and you print money, like really, that's all that matters. It's like, it's literally all that matters, Debbie. As long as you're making money, that, you know, I'm happy. That's all that matters. I literally, you know, I don't care. As long as you're making money, that's cool. So basically, one of my reasons is like we had this divergence in here, right? So NQ had already taken out this high. So up in here, I was okay with ES taking out this high, getting into the whole site, but I didn't want to see NQ take out this high. It had no reason to do that in my view. So as soon as it goes through this high, I basically sat to the sidelines. I'm not saying that it's not an invalid trade, but for me personally, I didn't want to see NQ, so I was framing shorts below that low, right? As soon as it stabs up and went beyond that, I basically moved to the sidelines. So it's not like we're miles apart. It's just that I wouldn't want it to go through 87. It went through 87. So I'd moved to the sidelines. But ultimately, ES held 55. So there's nothing wrong with it because ES held 55 ultimately. It's just not the entry that I wanted. It's a potential, yeah. It's having a look at it, it's 15-minute balanced price range as well. That's gone into 20. I just don't need to force it. Honestly, I've already taken my trades this morning during London pre-open. I just don't need to force it here when I'm anticipating chop. Right, huge range pre-open on a day with no news, likely to get chop at the open. Right, you just don't need to force anything here. It's a retail graveyard. If you're desperately anxiously trying to jump in trades here, like for me, context before time, context before price. Right, there's just nothing here that interests me. Zero. Because of context. So context, even though you might look at this and go, oh, well, look, X, we've got this breaker block. We've gone into 50-minute BPR. Turtle suited the high. Yeah, sure. But there's context before that. And the context for me is it's more likely to chop than it is to do anything crazy. I'm also not ruling out higher prices because we've driven through the high that I did not want to see taken out. So I'm just going to wait for the market to tip its hand. So if you people who have traded this breaker, you know, having their arse handed to them, like it's not the conditions for it. Completely flat for me, completely flat. Bum, 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 da, 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 da. So this is basically why I don't want to short. If prices head bullish, it's just going to go out the premium side, which is why I don't want to short. I also don't want to go long because it's a Tuesday with no news. So basically, I'm just completely neutral. Anticipating this price, choppy price. What time frame, AJ? What, bullish? Or are you looking at bearish? Bullish or bearish, bro? Right. So if you're looking for a bullish if 2022, you'd need to have a breakaway gap. So that would be your intermediate term high, your fair value gap, but you'd need a breakaway gap underneath it, and you wouldn't want to see that bag re-entered. So it's not an if 2022, no. Guys, for me, there is no entry here. Like, if you want to force entries in this, like, be my guest. Like, there's nothing of interest for me here. Like, there just isn't. Like, if you want to trade it, there's nothing wrong with that. But just, for me, context is keeping me out. Context. And all of my trades start with context. Context first. Context for time, context before market structure, context before price. Context is what will filter all of your trades. It's your filter, right? You know, it's your shit filter, right? Context. Put that before everything, and it filters out everything. So when people look at just your bog standard 2022 model and they're trying to apply it everywhere, there's no consideration of context. So anyone who trades this but doesn't know what frames are valid 2022 might have like a 30% accuracy. Someone who knows how to frame a 2022 properly might have a 50 to 60% accuracy with a 2022. Someone who understands context and how to frame context will have a 60 to 70% consistency with that model. Like, context is so important. It's part of every single trade I take has context. So when I'm anticipating choppy conditions, I have no interest in trading. Like, I'm not even looking for an entry. All right, but you know, retail Rick will be trying to, you know, trade this breaker block short continuation. Like, I've got no interest in it. I'm anticipating this choppy back and forth gnarly PA. I've got context for why price would want to drive out the high, going out the X levels premium, because we haven't fulfilled the objectives on the high. This range on the hourly is still unmitigated, right? So I can easily see price continuing higher. On the flip side of that, I don't want to enter outside of a premium on a Tuesday with no news, right? I don't want to do it, right? I want volatility to do that. So because I can see price driving through the highs, but I still don't want to get in on that. It's context. Context is preventing me from taking that trade. Equally, I don't want to short it because I have the potential for price to drive up into those highs. So it's just one of those occasions where context precedes price. So I have no interest in trading. It's already gone through where I'd want it to go through. Like, if you remember my trade from this morning was to take NQ short at ES at 55, right? This was the trade. Got stopped. Sorry, I didn't get stopped out on the minis, micros I did. This here, this took me out in terms of me wanting to go short. Right, so I've just sat still. I'm patient. ES is going on a car though. 2 seconds. Oh god. I was just saying that's gonna be it for me today. No trade for me during this AM session. Ultimately, ES got to where I wanted it to be, which is 55, but NQ went through the level that I wanted to hold for a short. So just that little trade here pre-open, and that's gonna be it for me today during the AM session. So no trade from the open onwards for me today. Just gonna sit still, sit patient. We're back down to fair value on the hourly, so that's going to be it for me today. All right, guys. So quiet one today. My draw on liquidity all day today, bro, it was inside the daily plans. So my POI on a high was 18,762, ES at whole cycle 55. So we got there. So for me, trading back down, you'd just be wanting to get back to 50% of the daily range, right? If you wanted to hold runners beyond that, be my guess. If you were trading it short, right, which has already done that. So you'd want to have your lion's share off here. Your next point would obviously be this breaker block, which you are now inside. And then beyond that, you'd be just looking to go and carve out these lows if you're holding runners beyond that. But you'd want your lion's share off here if you took that short. But yeah, completely neutral now. Back to 50% of the daily range. So congrats to those who caught the short. Good stuff. All right, guys. So I will catch you all on the next stream, which will probably be Thursday. All right, guys. So take it easy, and I'll catch you then. Abosh.